Welcome to Creepytalks, where hidden fears come alive through chilling horror tales. Dare to listen as every story pulls you deeper into the darkness. Story 1. The Night Shift That Never Ended. Most people think night shifts are easy. No customers, no rush, just silence. But silence is never really silent, especially not in a place where thousands of people come and go every day, leaving behind more than just footprints. My name is Aaron. I work the graveyard shift at a McDonald's on the edge of a nearly empty highway. It was the kind of place where truckers stopped at 2 a.m. and drunk college kids wandered in just before sunrise. Or at least, that's what I thought. My shift started at 11 p.m. By midnight, the place would usually be dead, and by 2 a.m., it felt like the building itself was holding its breath. The first night, it started on a Tuesday. Nothing special, nothing unusual. At least, not at first. I clocked in, tied my apron, and took over from Jake, the evening guy. He looked unusually tired. "Anything I should know?" I asked. He hesitated, just for a second too long. Then he forced a laugh. "Yeah, if you hear knocking, don't open the back door." I smirked. "Funny." "I'm serious," he said, his voice dropping slightly. "Don't open it, even if it sounds like someone needs help." That killed the joke. I stared at him. "Dude, what?" But he was already grabbing his bag. "Just don't," he repeated, and then he left. The automatic doors slid shut behind him with a soft hiss, and suddenly, it felt like the building got heavier. 1:13 a.m. The first hour was normal. I cleaned the counters, refilled sauces, checked the fryer oil. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above me. That sound, I didn't notice it before. It was constant, like a low electrical hum pressing against your ears. At exactly 1:13 a.m., the drive-through headset crackled. I froze. There hadn't been a car for over an hour. "Hello," I said, pressing the button. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" Static, then breathing, slow, wet, uneven breathing. I frowned. "Hello?" The breathing stopped, and then a voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here." My chest tightened. "Is this a joke?" I said, trying to sound annoyed instead of terrified. No response. The line went dead. I waited for headlights. Nothing. No car. No engine. Just empty road stretching into darkness. The back door, I tried to brush it off. Prank call? Probably. At around 2 a.m., I went to take out the trash. The back door led into a narrow alley behind the building. The motion sensor light flickered on as I stepped outside. The air felt colder than it should have been. Too cold for summer. I dragged the trash bags toward the dumpster, and that's when I heard it. Knocking, soft, slow, from behind me. I turned. The back door. 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap. My stomach dropped. I was outside, which meant the knocking was coming from inside. I stared at the door. Another knock. Louder this time. Bang, bang, bang. The metal rattled. My heart slammed against my ribs. There was no one else on shift. I was alone. I backed away slowly, every instinct screaming at me to run. Then, the handle moved, just slightly, like someone was testing it from the inside. I didn't wait. I dropped the trash and bolted around to the front entrance. Inside again. The automatic doors slid open. The restaurant looked exactly the same. Bright, clean, empty, too empty. I stepped inside, my breathing shaky. "Hello," I called out. No answer. I checked the kitchen. Nothing. Storage room, nothing. Bathroom, empty. I was alone. Again. But as I walked back toward the counter, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The back hallway door was open. I was sure I had closed it earlier. The camera footage around 3 a.m., I decided to check the security cameras, just to calm myself down. There had to be an explanation. There always is. Right? I pulled up the monitor in the manager's office. 4 camera feeds, front counter, kitchen, drive-through, back hallway. Everything looked normal until I rewound the footage. 2:07 a.m. There I was, dragging trash bags out the back door. The door closed behind me. A few seconds passed, and then the door slowly opened. On its own. I leaned closer to the screen. Nothing was visible beyond the darkness outside. But then, something moved. Not a person. Not exactly. A shape. Tall. Too tall. It didn't walk. It bent, like its joints didn't work the way they should. It slipped inside. And then, the door shut behind it. My hands started shaking. No! 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 I fast-forwarded. 2:10 a.m. The thing stood in the hallway, completely still, facing the camera. Its face, I couldn't make it out. It was too dark, but its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, like it was trying to understand something it didn't recognize. Then suddenly, it jerked violently. Its head snapped toward the camera. Even through the grainy footage, I felt it. It knew. It knew I was watching. The screen glitched. Static flooded the monitor for a split second. And when it cleared, the hallway was empty. The realization, I slowly turned my head toward the office door. The hallway outside was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Soft. Dragging. Coming from the back hallway. Moving closer. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. The footsteps stopped right outside the office door. The handle twitched. Once. Twice. Then slowly. It began to turn. And then, a voice. Right outside the door. Not whispering anymore. Clear. Wrong. You let me in. Story 2. I couldn't move. The handle was still turning. Slowly. Deliberately. Like whatever was outside wasn't in a hurry, because it knew I wasn't going anywhere. You let me in. The voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It felt like it was inside my head more than outside the door. I forced myself to breathe. Think. There had to be a logical explanation. Someone broke in. A homeless person. A prank. Anything. But nothing logical explains something that moves like that. The door opens. The handle stopped. For a moment, everything went completely still. Then, click. The door unlocked. I don't remember locking it. The door creaked open just an inch, then 2, then slowly, wider. The hallway light spilled into the office, cutting through the darkness. And in that doorway, something stood, tall, too tall to be human. It had to bend slightly just to fit inside the frame. Its arms hung low, longer than they should have been, and its head, still tilted. But now I could see its face, or at least, where its face should have been. There were no features, just stretched skin, like something had pulled a human face tight, too tight, until everything underneath disappeared, except for one thing, a mouth, not where it should be, lower, wider, split open in a grin that didn't belong to anything alive. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. The thing took a step forward, its joints cracked. Not like bones breaking, but like they were being forced to bend in directions they weren't made for. It leaned down slightly, getting closer to me, studying me. Then it spoke again. This time, its mouth didn't move. You shouldn't have looked. The lights go out. Everything went black. Instantly, the fluorescent hum died. The monitor shut off. The hallway light vanished. Pitch darkness swallowed everything. And in that darkness, I heard it breathing. Closer now, much closer, right next to me. Wet, slow, like something learning how to breathe for the first time. I squeezed my eyes shut, even though it made no difference. I didn't want to see it, didn't want to know how close it really was. Then, a sound right beside my ear, a whisper. Stay still. I froze, every muscle locked. I didn't even blink. Seconds passed, or minutes. I couldn't tell. Time didn't feel real anymore. Then suddenly, the lights flickered back on. Gone, I was alone. The office door was wide open, the hallway empty. The cameras were back on. Everything looked normal, too normal, like nothing had ever happened. I stumbled out of the office. My legs felt weak, like they didn't belong to me anymore. I checked the hallway. Nothing. Kitchen, nothing. Front counter, empty. But something was wrong. I could feel it, not around me, inside me. Like something had shifted, like I wasn't alone anymore, even in my own body. The clock, I looked at the wall clock, 4:52 a.m. That didn't make sense. It had only been a few minutes, maybe 10 at most. Not hours, not 3 hours. My head started pounding. No, that's not possible. I rushed back into the office and checked the camera timestamps. They matched. Everything matched. From 2:10 a.m. to 4:52 a.m., there was no footage, just static. Hours of it. The mirror. I went to the bathroom. I don't even remember deciding to go there. I just ended up there. The lights flickered as I stepped inside. I looked at myself in the mirror, and for a second, I didn't recognize what I was looking at. My face looked wrong, not physically, but something about it felt off, like I was looking at a copy of myself, not the original. I leaned closer, studying my reflection. My breathing slowed. Then, my reflection smiled. I didn't. I stumbled backward, slamming into the sink. My heart felt like it was about to explode. No! I looked back at the mirror. My reflection was normal again, matching me perfectly. No smile, no movement, just me. But I knew what I saw. The voice returns. The drive-through headset crackled again. I flinched, slowly. I walked back to the counter, my hands trembling. I pressed the button. Hello? Silence, then my own voice answered. Hello? I dropped the headset. It swung back and forth, hitting the counter. Who's there? I shouted. No answer. But then the speaker crackled again. And this time, it wasn't my voice. It was many voices, layered, whispering over each other, all saying the same thing. We're still here. The real horror. I ran. I didn't care about the job anymore. Didn't care about anything. I just needed to get out. I rushed to the front doors, pushed them open, and stepped outside. The parking lot was gone. There was no highway, no streetlights, no cars, no sky, just darkness. Endless, thick, like the world outside had been erased. I turned back slowly. The restaurant was still there, bright, standing alone in the void. And inside, through the glass, I saw movement. Not one figure, not two, dozens, standing in the restaurant, watching me, perfectly still, all with the same tilted heads, all with the same stretched, empty faces. And at the center, closest to the door, was one that looked exactly like me. It smiled, wider than any human mouth should be. And then I heard it again, not from outside, not from inside, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere I couldn't escape. You never left. Story 3. You never left. The voice didn't echo. It didn't fade. It stayed, like it had always been there, like it belonged there. I stumbled backward, away from the door, away from the thing that looked like me. No, I walked out. I'm outside. But even as I said it, something inside me knew. That wasn't true. The illusion breaks. I blinked, just once, and suddenly, I was back inside, standing behind the counter, exactly where I always stood, like I had never moved. The front doors were closed. The parking lot was normal again. A truck idled at the drive-thru. The headset beeped. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" The words came out of my mouth automatically. I didn't choose to say them. My body just did it. A man's voice responded. "Yeah, can I get a Big Mac meal?" Normal. Completely normal. Too normal. "Sure," I said, my voice steady. But inside, I was screaming. Trapped in routine. The order went through. I made the food, handed it out. The customer drove away. Everything played out perfectly. Like a script. Like I had done it 1,000 times before. And that's when it hit me. Maybe I had. I rushed to the office, checked the cameras again. The timestamps were different now. Date, unknown. The time read 1:13 a.m. again. No, 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 no. I rewound the footage, watched myself taking out the trash, watching the door open, watching it come inside. Again, I fast-forwarded. The same thing, every time. The same loop. But then I noticed something new. Something I hadn't seen before. More than one in the footage. There wasn't just one figure anymore. There were two. The tall one and another, standing beside it. The second one was shorter, more human, more familiar. It was me, but not me as I was now. This version was wrong. Its movements were slightly delayed, like it was copying, learning, practicing. I watched as the other me turned toward the camera and smiled. The truth of memory hit me, not like remembering something, but like something being forced into my mind. Jake, his face that night, the hesitation, the warning. Don't open the back door. I didn't listen. I let it in. And now, it wasn't just in the building. It was learning me, replacing me. The realization I touched my face, it felt normal, but I didn't trust it anymore. What happens to me? I whispered. The answer came instantly. From everywhere. From nowhere. From inside my own head. You stay. My knees buckled. I collapsed into the chair. No, I can leave. I just need to walk out again. You already tried. The memory slammed into me. Not one attempt. Not two. Dozens. Running out the door. Finding darkness. Coming back inside. Reset. Again. The others. I looked at the cameras one more time. This time, I switched feeds. Kitchen, back hallway, storage, dining area. They were all there. Not dozens, hundreds. Figures standing in every corner. Perfectly still, watching, waiting. Each one slightly different. Different heights, different shapes, but all with the same face. That stretched, empty imitation of a human. And then I realized they weren't just random. They were workers. Every single one. Still wearing uniforms. Still standing where they used to work. Frozen in place and like they never left either. Jake, I scrolled through older footage. Days, weeks, months. And then I saw him. Jake. Same night. Same shift. Same time. I watched as he stood behind the counter, looking tired, just like when I saw him. Then, at exactly 1:13 a.m., the headset crackled, he froze, and slowly, he turned toward the back hallway. The footage glitched. Static filled the screen. When it cleared, Jake was gone, but in his place, something else stood, slightly taller, head tilted, smiling. The final shift. The lights flickered again. I turned, and there it was, standing in the doorway. the thing that started it all. But now, it looked clearer, more defined, more human, because it wasn't just one thing anymore. It was all of them, every worker, every face, every voice, layered together. You understand now, it said. Its voice wasn't one voice. It was many, all speaking at once. I shook my head, backing away. There has to be a way out. It tilted its head further, too far, almost upside down. There is. Hope flickered. What is it? It smiled wider. Someone has to take your place. The last customer. The drive-thru beeped again. I turned slowly. The screen lit up. No car, no headlights, but the order box activated anyway. Hello? I said, my voice barely working. Silence. Then, a new voice. Young, confused. Hey, are you guys open? My blood ran cold. Yeah, I whispered. I looked at the front doors, and for the first time, they opened. Not into darkness, but into the real world. A teenager stepped inside, looking at his phone, completely unaware. Yo, finally, he muttered. Thought you were closed. He walked up to the counter, smiling casually, and that's when I understood. This wasn't a prison. It was a cycle, a trap that needed someone new, someone unaware, someone like me. The choice. I looked at him, then at the thing behind me, waiting, watching. You can leave, it whispered. Just step away. My legs moved, slowly. I stepped back, away from the counter. The boy frowned. Hello? I didn't answer. I just kept stepping back, toward the hallway, toward the darkness, toward them. The thing smiled, and as I crossed into the shadows, I felt it. Something peeling away from me, my thoughts, my voice, myself, being taken, copied, replaced, the new worker from the counter. I watched, but I wasn't me anymore. I was part of them now, just another voice, another face, another thing in the walls. The boy leaned forward, confused. Hello? And then, he said it, the same words I once said. Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order? Behind him, the doors closed, locked, and at exactly 1:13 a.m., the headset crackled.